And in a lot of ways that's true. There's a lot of awesome things going on in Nebraska right now that we were able to take advantage of, and had it been a different time, I don't know that things would have happened as quickly as they would have. But we also worked our butts off to make it happen. So it's awesome that some of these things look easy for other, when people are looking in, because it means that we did a good job. But don't expect things to happen to you. They happen because you make them happen. I can't tell you how many people we've sat down with since starting this process where they're just feeling down about everything. It's like, man, I have this really good idea, but things just aren't happening. And they've spent no time researching. They have no idea about these grant programs that are available from the Department of Economic Development, or different options for potentially finding developers to get stuff done. So I would say if you have an idea, or even just in your careers as you start to move forward, you reach a hurdle, it's not a roadblock, it's just something that you have to get creative and figure out how to get around it. Another kind of piece of advice, something that I've learned through this process, is finding your own way. So especially when you have a business idea, you are trying to reach out to every smart person who could potentially help you. And get feedback and advice from them, because that is a smart thing to do. People will bring interesting perspectives and interesting ideas that you haven't considered, but you will get a lot of conflicting feedback. And you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Think really critically about the feedback that you're getting, take the pieces that really make sense for you and apply those to what you're doing, and forget the rest. So when we were going out for advice, or even when we were pitching for investment funds, you would talk to somebody one day and they're like, oh my gosh, your price point is way too low, no one's ever going to sign up for this, you're never going to make any money. And then the next meeting we'd have is, wow, that's a fantastic price point, oh my gosh, so many people are going to sign up for this, you are going to be crazy successful. So everybody brings an interesting perspective, and there's something to kind of learn from all of those things, but nobody knows what you're doing like you're doing. So you really have to kind of have your own filter, take in that information, process it, apply it to what you're doing, and not just take everything as cold hard fact. And then the last thing that I will say to you is take advantage of the really unique opportunities that you have as a student. So Deb, you had asked if we had thought of this idea as a student, and I really wish that we would have, because there's so many more programs, and people are so much more willing to talk to you when you have this student card to play. So there's some really cool things going on right now if you do have an idea and you want to start something up where you can get even more free money than Ella and I were able to get. And then you just have so many more doors open to you. You could reach out to any business professional here in Lincoln and say, hey, I'm a student and I have this cool idea and I want to try something out. And people will be more than willing to help you. And even if you don't have an idea, it's just a fantastic time for you guys to start to learn from some really cool things that are going on here in Lincoln. So take advantage of internships, find things to do that are really going to help you kind of discover what your career path is and what you love to do. Don't just take that internship where you're going to be sitting in a cubicle, maybe you get paid a little bit more, but you're grabbing coffee and not really learning anything. If you can afford to do it, now is the time to start to learn some of those things before you get thrown out into real life and those opportunities won't be available for you anymore. So that's what I have prepared today. Do you guys have any questions? I can also dig a little bit deeper into the tool that we're building too, if that's interesting to you guys. Yeah?
So like for the subscription fee after that? For like,
yep.
For like the users that are on the site, or like for your like the businesses that are signing up on your site?
Our tool is a marketing tool for small businesses. So those small businesses pay a small subscription fee to us every month to have access to Boutique Window online. From a shopper perspective, it's completely free.
Okay.
And right now, that is all behind that store's brand. So I can actually just flip through this really quick.
Can you maybe show them? I'm thinking Chandelier is the one that I heard about.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
That way they could see how
Yeah.
she's a startup business and she's connected to you and how you're helping her business.
I am actually going to show you Embellish because I have
Or
all of
Embellish
them
is
pulled up,
good
if
too,
that's all right.
because that way they would be familiar with Embellish too.
So Embellish is a women's clothing boutique in downtown Lincoln. It's just a couple blocks. I don't know where that, but there you go. And when we first talked to Ashley, she's the owner of Embellish, she has this beautiful website. And it pulls in these fabulous pictures of her store, but these are from 3 years ago. So she doesn't actually carry any of this merchandise in her store anymore. Which, it's cool, it still like shows you kind of the style that's going on, but if you're like, oh my god, I love that coat, and you went in, like, she doesn't have that coat, so. So what Boutique Window does for Ashlyn's website is gives her a little embed feed. So she can take a little piece of text that she copy and pastes into her current website system, and then everything that she publishes to her Boutique Window is automatically pulled into her website. So that's one place that it goes. It is also connected to her Facebook account. So that gives her two things. One, on her store's brand page, she gets this in-store tab. And this is just another way for shoppers to kind of interact with that content that she's posting through her Boutique Window. So all of that feed is showing up right in here. It also allows her to promote those items directly from her Boutique Window account. So when she's logged into her admin panel, she can, looks like she created a collection for this, but let's say she just uploaded a bunch of new stuff that she got in store. Once she's done with that upload process, it asks her if she would like to share that out to Facebook and Twitter. She said yes, and she typed in this caption. So let's pretend that this says we just got a bunch of cool new things in, come into the store and check them out. And then Boutique Window automatically formats all of the photos for her to display really well on her Facebook page. So one of the problems that Ella and I were having is some of the stores would post things to Facebook just in albums for us to go through. But it's kind of a pain in the butt from a shopping perspective to click through all that stuff because Facebook does really weird things with cropping because their photo engine is built for faces. So it tries to find a face in a photo and then crop to that face. And I will not be able to show you an example because she's been using this for a while, but if you can imagine this dress, this picture being sent, like Ashley just uploading that without using Boutique Window, it would probably crop the top of this photo and not even show you really the top of the shirt. It would just be the top of the mannequin that's showing in the thumbnail. Which from a marketing perspective, that's just not great. Like, she can describe the dress in words as much as she wants, but if that photo isn't engaging, most people aren't gonna click on it to see it bigger. So Boutique Window takes care of formatting all of that to make sure that the full image of merchandise shows, or in this example where she's posted multiple items, she can pick different thumbnails that she can show in this stitched together grid. And then it's also sending a link along with that post so that shoppers can click through and start to browse her merchandise on her Boutique Window website. And this is huge from an engagement perspective. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard much about the small business Facebook drama, but gosh, it's probably been almost a year and a half ago now. Facebook made a big update to their recommendation algorithm with how, like us as individual users of Facebook, how content is being shown to us. So in the past it was if you liked somebody or you liked a brand, all of the things that they post from people you like would show up in your newsfeed. You'd get a ton of crap in there and you might look at some of it and might not look at all of it. And Facebook was realizing that people were getting overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that was showing up in their newsfeed. So now they have some logic in place that says the more Courtney interacts with a person or a brand, I'm going to show more of that person's content to her in her newsfeed. So what that meant for small businesses is even if somebody said, hey, I like this store, if they were interacting with that store's stuff online, it would slowly kind of start to fall out of their newsfeed. So stores were seeing on average about 10% of their content was actually showing up to their shoppers, which that's a pretty drastic cut. And it's not a fixed percentage though, so there's things that can be done. The more content a store is posting and the better that content is. And Facebook gauges quality of content by how many people are commenting on it, how many people are liking it, how many people are clicking a photo, or how many people are clicking a link. More and more exposure will be available to that store. So a lot of our stores were just posting tech stuff. So like they'd get a new shipment of merchandise and it was, hey guys, we just got the most beautiful red dress ever, come in and check it out. Well, there's not really much a shopper can do with that post. So they were kind of shooting themselves in the foot by not taking advantage of all of the different engagement points. So maybe a couple people would like that post, but there's no photo with it. People don't know what the red dress looks like, so most people weren't doing anything with that. With what's sent through Boutique Window, having this link and having a photo, there's a lot more engagement points. So just through our beta, we saw an average of a 100% increase in exposure. So that's just the number of people who were even able to see the post doubled. Just the only change was sending this stuff through Boutique Window, which was actually huge. All right, that was a long Facebook tangent, sorry. All right, so stores also get a Boutique Window website. So this can either supplement what they already have, if they have like actually an existing website where they can embed their Boutique Window feed, or like in the case of Chandelier, Catherine is just using this as her existing website. So there's quite a few stores out there right now that don't have a web presence at all, and this is a really like an easy way for them to get something online. So obviously all of their merchandise is showing up. We also have a location and hours page, and then just a really simple About Us page. So it's all of the information that's really critical for shoppers to look at what they have online, make a trip in store to buy it, and then all of the information that really makes sense to help those stores out with SEO. So making sure that when a shopper says, hey, I'm looking for a women's apparel store in Lincoln, Nebraska, Ashley's site is showing up. And then we also connect in with Twitter. So here's that same post that she sent to her Facebook account. Sorry, this is buzzing. Her Facebook account sent out to Twitter. We have been approved through Twitter for these new things called Twitter cards, which is kind of cool. So whenever somebody sends a link from a Boutique Window site, there's a photo associated with that and actually gets pulled into Twitter. And then it's just that same message that Ashley wrote and a link back to her site. So kind of the two things that we're really helping these stores accomplish is, one, making sure that any effort that they take through Boutique Window presents their store in the best light possible on all of these different platforms, which is something that they really weren't able to do before because they don't have photo editing skills. From a web perspective, they don't know HTML. And then also really simplifying the process of getting all this stuff online. So instead of Ashley having to go and upload a photo to her website, upload a photo to Facebook, upload a photo to Twitter, she just does that all through Boutique Window, and with the click of a button, it goes out to all of these different platforms. That is the tutor.
Let's survey just real quickly. I know you may have other questions, but are you buying online when you see things being advertised to you, whether it be on Facebook, or do you go to people's websites to make purchases, or are you the shopper that has to go in and shop? Well, come on, we're asking all of you. You like to go in?
All depends.
I'm gonna buy clothes. I wanna go in the store and try them out.
Yeah.
Look at a
Yeah.
picture.
It's we're doing research on first because we're like, this is not going to go anywhere because there's been so much hype about e-commerce lately. Like everything's moving online. People need to sell all of their stuff online. But we started looking at census data on how much people were spending on retail goods online versus in-store in the U.S. And last year, 90% of retail purchases were still made in a physical store, which says a lot. Like e-commerce definitely has a big chunk of the market. People are making a lot of money, but there's a lot of things that people just would prefer to touch and feel and try before you actually spend money on it.
I've noticed a lot more businesses are starting to, show up on my Facebook. And it's like, how did they do that? And am I supposed to just right away run, to start making purchases from them because somebody's figured out that I'm a good client for them?
Mm-hmm.
And but I just didn't know, you're more likely to do that type of online shopping than I am. I'm still that touch it, feel it, and want to make sure that it's exactly what I want before I spend my money. But your market is supposed to be much more savvy about all of that. So that's why I was just asking whether you're making purchases that way or not, because she's depending on you noticing on Facebook or Twitter these people in business and they need your money. So are you shopping that way?
We might notice it, but we're sort of going and looking.
Okay. That's what their idea is.
Yep.
I want to see it,
That's exactly
and then
what
I'll
it
go
is.
in, which I like that about the way you're doing.
And it's a much more organic conversation than a lot of